Welcome to the DeCesare Group Podcast. I'm your host, Jim DeCesare, and as we wrap up 2024, I'm excited to take a moment to reflect on the incredible year we've had. In this final episode of the year, we'll revisit some of our favorite guests from the past year and highlight the top economic development and business stories in South Central Kentucky. It's been a year filled with inspiring conversations and significant growth in our community, so let's dive into the highlights and celebrate what makes South Central Kentucky such a vibrant place to live and work. Here's my conversation with me. All right, so here we go. In 2024, we had 39 guests on the DeCesare Group Podcast. We started this podcast in March of 2023, and our very first guest was Warren County Judge Executive Emeritus Mike Buchanan. Now, since we've been doing the podcast, we started doing it weekly, but we switched to a bi-weekly schedule in July of this year, and that's made Justin's life a little bit easier. He's here with me. That has made your life easier, hasn't it?
Yes, greatly.
And in case you didn't know, we also, starting this year, the DeCesare Group Podcast airs on 95.1 WGGC Sunday mornings at 7. It's been a great collaboration, and I want to give Darren Evans, Kenny Beckman, and the rest of the team at WGGC a shout-out for all they do in allowing this podcast to air on their station every Sunday morning at what time?
7 a.m.
7 a.m. All right, let's talk about some of my favorite episodes of the year. My favorite has to be Bowling Green Mayor Emeritus Johnny Webb. Season 2, Episode 20. I learned there was a TikTok grill before there was a TikTok was even a thing.
I don't even know what a TikTok grill.
Yeah, so
I don't remember.
Downtown Bowling Green, where the Justice Center is now, evidently there was a small restaurant across the street called the TikTok Grill.
Oh, yeah.
And when Johnny Webb was at Western, that's where he worked.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Flipping burgers.
Yeah.
So he was TikToking before TikToking was a thing to do. He's been involved in so many great things in Bowling Green and Warren County. He's the guy that started Operation Pride, which is the beautification efforts in this area. He's responsible for all the horse fencing that you see along I-65 and the new gateways, the flag poles that you see along the interstate. That all has Johnny Webb's DNA on it. So even though he's hasn't been mayor in a long time, he's still actively involved in the day-to-day activity of what's happening here in Bowling Green. Another favorite was my conversation with former WKU President Gary Ransdell. Season 2, Episode 16. You know, he covered a lot of ground about his time at WKU and what he's doing now. And if you missed it, you need to go back and check it out because that was a pretty interesting conversation. We also talked about his work with the with SkyPack and the arts group here in Bowling Green and Warren County as well. Speaking of WKU, you may remember this one, Justin. We had Athletic Director Todd Stewart on. Season 2, Episode 28. And we discussed the economic impact WKU athletics has on our local economy. Just last week, you know, WKU was in a bowl game, national TV. Didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but that has a significant economic impact on Bowling Green and South Central Kentucky. It's letting people know who we are, what we are, how we're doing it, what a great university we have, and talks about the earned media they get through the TV broadcast of certain games, whether it's basketball or football. And then we talked about all the great programs. The volleyball program is doing well. The women's basketball team is doing fantastic this year. So there's lots of great things happening with WKU athletics. And if you went to any of the games the football games this past fall, you got to see Flo Rida in concert.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that was epic. I knew one song by that guy, but he was very entertaining, fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So, lots of good things happening on the Hill. In February, you may remember this one, Justin, we had the longest-serving Speaker of the Kentucky House of Representatives, Jody Richards. Season 2.
The GOAT.
Episode 9, The GOAT. Not even a year ago, but it seems like that was a long time ago when we had him up here doing the pod. Jody's another community-first leader who has probably had the biggest impact on Bowling Green, Warren County, and South Central Kentucky. During his time in the legislature, his efforts for WKU, SkyPack, roads, infrastructure. The list goes on and on and on. It will have a positive impact for generations. I mean, literally for generations. They even named a building after him at WKU.
And a whole school.
And a whole school. Forget about that. Jody Richards Elementary. There's a funny story about that school. I think I shared it. Maybe I shared it during the podcast. I can't remember.
Your urinal?
Yeah, the urinal. That school, when I was in the legislature, was built in my district, and it was named after Jody, and as it should be. But I remember Bart Darrell telling me one day, he said, yeah, we got a plaque for you too, Jim. It's right over the urinal in the men's bathroom, as it should be.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a lot of good guests in 2024. Some of my favorites, I really enjoyed the conversation with Rand Paul.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about his book that he wrote about the COVID pandemic. Pretty interesting stuff. Dr. Greg Farrell, senior pastor at Crossland Community Church, he was good.
Mm-hmm.
Very entertaining. Brian Medford, co-owner of White Squirrel Brewery. We've had Greg Coker on this podcast 3 times. He's been on more than anybody. And he is affectionately calling the White Squirrel Brewery, because we're all in a book club together and we meet there. We call that Bowling Green's living room. It's kind of appropriate. Have you been there yet?
No, I still have not been there.
No, you got to go, Justin.
I've heard it's great.
Yeah, it's Bowling Green's living room. I mean, literally, you can probably find a couch and sit down. Another one that I really enjoyed was our conversation with Gene Burke, WBKO Hall of Fame news anchor, the real Ron Burgundy.
He's got a little bit of that flavor to him.
Yeah.
I guess.
We talked about his encounter with Evel Knievel.
Spielberg.
What's that? Spielberg.
Spielberg.
Yeah, on Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Have you watched the movie since the interview?
I did, actually.
So
I watched it because I love Spielberg. He's like probably top 3 directors for me. And I was inspired to go back and watch it because it's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
Yeah, I was specifically looking for Gene's shining moment.
You saw
there.
him?
Yeah.
A young Gene Burke.
At the town council meeting or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Any favorite episodes stick out with you?
I was thinking about it. I was looking back through our older episodes throughout the year, and I saw that we actually started last year off with Brooke.
Yeah. Brooke was our first episode of 2024.
Yeah, so that one was obviously great. But probably, I just kind of go by who we're hanging out with more than anything. So Steve was a great time. Steve Wilson.
Steve Wilson, yeah.
Yeah.
He's former judge, Steve Wilson.
Yeah. I like hearing Greg talk about his, how his thought process is. Greg Coker. When it comes to leadership and stuff like that, he always has some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones right off the top of my head, but I also just like hearing like Greg Farrell. He's, I like hearing people like him just talk about the community and how he's seen God through Bowling Green, stuff like that. So, but we've had so many guests.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep track. We
had City Commissioner Sue Perigin on the podcast. So we had a few politicians. We had some business owners. We've just really, I think we've had some big time people in Bowling Green. Yeah.
I know it's not really to you, but to me, it's like we have all these people that, you could go around and ask anybody if you know who this person is, and pretty much anybody in town will say yes.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like our upstairs, entertainment room is kind of a celeb hotspot, at least in my eyes. So.
You mean the DeCesare Group Podcast studio high atop the second floor of the
penthouse
of the DeCesare Group Tower?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interesting people roll through the bonus room at the house.
Both, I think Caboni was last year, but both of the WKU presidents. It's kind of like Caboni and Ransdell is kind of like the Kobe Bryant, Kwame Brown stat, where it's like they combined for 83 points, and Kwame Brown had 1 point and Kobe had 82, just because Gary was the president for like however long.
Yeah.
But still, the past 2 presidents of the past however.
Yeah.
Is pretty cool.
Yeah, been 25 years or more.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's fun, and of course we've had lots of small business owners. We had Robert Evans, who owned Fleet Feet, on the podcast, and it's great. And Brian Mefford was another one of those that we're able to support and talk about some of the small businesses that are here in Bowling Green, Warren County, South Central Kentucky. We had Johnny Hobdy on, who was the economic developer in Allen County. It's always great to hear what our neighbors are doing, because from an economic development and business standpoint, it's a regional effort at times, and because Bowling Green is kind of the hub of South Central Kentucky, we all work together and all try to help each other out. And I say that coming from an economic development perspective, because I'll talk about this more in just a few minutes about my role in Franklin. But if you missed any of the episodes, just go back and check them out. This is our 74th episode in less than 2 years. So we've been cranking them out. We've been pretty consistent. That's the one thing about people who start podcasts, they typically don't stick with it. Mm-hmm. And that was a commitment we made when we started. We just aren't going to do 4 or 5 and then let it fall out of our we don't have time to do it anymore. So we actually scheduled the time to do these. We typically record 3 or 4 in a day, so we don't have to do one each week. That way we have shows ready to go throughout for a month.
You're ruining the movie magic.
It's not that big of a magic. I mean, it's a podcast, for Pete's sake. But that's what we have to do to make sure we keep this podcast going and moving along. But 74 episodes, there's even national podcasts that haven't lasted this long.
No, yeah, it's nothing to sneeze at, for sure. And we have a very I would say we have a pretty loyal fan, like, not fan base, but we have
loyal listeners. Yeah.
So, and it means the world just to have even just a couple that care about what you have to say and our guests have to say. That's who I care about talking, to be honest. It's not you.
It's about our guests. Yeah, it's not about me. I get that, even though it's my podcast.
No, yeah, I'm just messing around. But yeah, it does mean a lot. And we're gonna keep going as long as we can. I mean, it's not a big deal for us to even do it. So
yeah,
we like doing it, and it's an excuse for us to hang out at the very least. So
and we have some great guests planned for 2025 too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, our first episode of the new year will be about fitness, but I don't want to give that away yet. I don't want to let the cat out. I don't want to let too much of the movie magic out, right, Justin? But anyhow, we're on your favorite podcasting platform. You can check it out. You can listen to it anytime. However, I do want to take a moment, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention the late Abraham Williams. Season 2, episode 26. The episode aired in June, right before his retirement from the Housing Authority of Bowling Green. And we had a great conversation. We learned a lot about what got him to Bowling Green from Alabama. I mean, he was a coach. He just a wonderful man, and sadly, our community lost Abraham in October. He was one of a kind, that's for sure, and he's going to be missed. And I thought it was pretty cool. In his obituary, it was written, "Faithful to the end" would describe this man of God, man of his community, and man of his word.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even just being around him, you could tell how much he cared about his community no matter where he was. And I mean, he has so many success stories too, just from the past however many years he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a real, I'm glad I got to meet him. He was an awesome guy.
Yeah. And I'm glad we have that podcast for, people to go back and listen to
we have that one on video too.
Oh yeah, that's right. We do. So. And that's another thing. We did try to do the YouTube thing with the video, but it just wasn't conducive to our setup. We still are on YouTube. We just don't have the video. You get the audio only. But there's a handful of episodes that are,
it's a time capsule.
Yeah, it's a time capsule.
We'll keep it as a time capsule.
So I know we got Steve Wilson and Abraham Williams, it was a great episode. So go back and check it out. And, we still keep his family and friends and the community that he served in our thoughts and prayers, because he his impact will be felt for a long time to come. So a great man, and I'm glad we got him on the podcast. All right. So we don't talk about it a lot on the podcast. I mention it usually at the beginning or at the end about the Soka Economic Development and Business Newsletter. It comes out every Monday at 9 a.m. You can go to our website, DeCesareGroup.com, and sign up for it. But I thought it would be cool to talk about some of the top news stories we shared in our newsletter of 2024. And so these are kind of in order as they happen, starting at the beginning of the year. You may remember that Bowling Green unveiled a new riverfront park master plan. So there's going to be a nice park and lots of activities that'll go on down by the old bridge on the bypass and Old Louisville Road. So that project is moving forward, and that's going to be another great attribute for our community.
Sweet.
So that was announced this year. The bacon plant. Tyson Foods celebrated the opening of the bacon facility in the Trans Park. I mean, they're making bacon right here in Bowling Green.
That sounds good to me.
and that's having a significant impact on our economy. Bellmark is opening a new location in Allen County. I believe its construction is underway now. And, of course, Johnny Hobdy was on the podcast and talked a little bit about that. Pinnacle Financial. We had Rick Seidler on the podcast from Pinnacle this year. Cool. We had a couple of banking and finance people on the pod. We had Craig Browning as well. We talked more about leadership with him and Jim Flynn, but he's with a finance.
I forgot about Jim Flynn.
Yeah, so
my golf.
Your golf partner. Yeah. So anyhow, but Pinnacle was building a new location on Lovers Lane. We had the story about the massive expansion in the works, and it's already done now at Cheney's Dairy Barn.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they added on a big old building to their existing facility there. So, and that shows all the growth that's happening in Warren County. I mean, you look at the South Warren area, and Justin and I were having a conversation earlier with someone else about the growth that we've seen in South Warren. I mean, we got a new Farm Credit Services being built in the middle of a cornfield south of Bowling Green, between Bowling Green and Franklin right now.
They just put an El Maz over there.
Yeah, it's not an El Maz, but it is a Mexican restaurant.
Oh, I thought it was an El Maz.
No, it's not.
Well, still.
But we got strip malls coming up. I mean, so eventually, we're going to see the growth where Franklin and Bowling Green are connected at some point.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people that aren't in favor of that. But, my philosophy as an economic developer is if you're not growing, you're dying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, growth is always good if you ask me.
Yep.
So.
And we're getting a new, like a new firehouse. A new Wawa's is coming to Bowling Green. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. There's a new Wawa's coming to Franklin. Which is a high-end convenience store. Not quite Buc-ee's, but
just as somebody who, as a kid, grew up like right on the edge of like kind of where Bowling Green ends and Woodburn begins. Mm-hmm. There's just been so much. I mean, like starting, I guess, with South Warren kind of is what it feels like, at least from my perspective.
Yep.
And then just to see I remember when that IGA was put up, and I was like,
"This is IGA Crossroads.
This is a game changer right here."
Yeah.
And then the subway inside of it, I was like, "Let's go!" And then it's just more and more stuff keeps popping up, and it's awesome to see.
Dr. Evelyn Thrasher was named the new dean of the WKU Gordon Ford College of Business this year. She was on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
We talked with her, and she was a great choice for the dean of the College of Business. This was pretty cool. Bowling Green was ranked number 1 economic development with areas with population under 200,000. So for all over the country, Bowling Green was number 1 in economic development for populations under 200,000. Yeah. That is significant.
That sounds kind of uncanny. So.
And I think most people know this, but we're sitting in a sweet spot from an economic development standpoint because we are within a day's drive of 75% of the nation's population.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that stat.
Yeah, so you put that into perspective. That's why this area is so hot. Plus, we're right on I-65. We're a right-to-work state now, thanks to a former legislator who is doing a podcast now. And all those little things help. That's just part of it. I like to throw that in there, though. Yeah. Let's see what else. And I said I would mention this earlier, but I was announced as the Industrial Authority, the Franklin Simpson Industrial Authority Executive Director back in March as an interim. And then back in late summer, they made that permanent. So I'm the full-time economic developer for Simpson County, even though we still have the DeCesare Group, and I still do work for them as well. I also do the economic development in Simpson County. Vista Metals is opening a new operation in the Kentucky Trans Park as well. And not only are they open, it's going to be a recycling facility for metals, but they have a sister facility that is going to be coming to Franklin in 2025, and they will be recycling aerospace metals to some extent. So that's pretty exciting. That's neat. The Halton announced the grand opening of a manufacturing facility expansion in Scottsville. So Johnny Hobdy's had a good year in economic development over in Allen County. Good stuff happening there. The largest infrastructure investment in Warren County history, $450 million in road improvements. Our legislature, Kevin Jackson, Mike Wilson, Sean McPherson, Michael Meredith, Max Wise, David Givens, I know I'm leaving someone out, Robert Duvall. Oh, yeah. They had a phenomenal legislative year in 2024 and was able to bring a lot of our tax dollars back to the region with road projects and other infrastructure projects. So they did a great job. Of course, we all know about Buc-ee's and the impact that it's had on South Central Kentucky. Buc-ee's is in their smallest market in Smiths Grove. They opened up on June 24th. I didn't go to the day of, but I went pretty close after.
You didn't camp out with a tent?
No, I didn't do that. But I do enjoy going to Buc-ee's. It's a lot of fun. You may remember we talked about Greg Coker a little bit. He was named the president and CEO of the Kentucky Center for Leadership back during the summer. Yep. And we've had him on the podcast to talk about that. It's a great organization. And if you want to learn more about them, go to kc4l.org. And I always feel like KC4L. Yeah. Like a rap thing.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
I know. Anyhow, but yeah, check them out for all the great things they're doing at the Kentucky Center for Leadership. We also lost another legend over the summer. Lee Robertson, also known as Mr. Western. He passed away at 102. Great man, has done so much for this community and has had a significant impact, and he's another that will have his legacy will be long-lasting within South Central Kentucky, and especially in the WKU community. Oh, yeah. Another economic development achievement, Ohio, Allen, and Simpson counties were named in the top 20 counties in America by Site Selection Magazine. So a lot of economic activity happened in those areas. Retail sports betting debuted at the Mint in Franklin. Mm-hmm. That's significant because they are going to actually have the largest sports gaming facility in the United States outside of Las Vegas. It's under construction now. So that's going to be pretty good. And we're going to get Johan from the Mint. We're going to get him on the podcast cool. sometime in 2025. Talk about what they're doing, not only there in Franklin, but here in Bowling Green. Houchins Industries had another significant year. They acquired H.H. Barnum Company out of Michigan, but they continue to grow and succeed with all the things that they're involved with. So we're happy to see them continuing to be prosperous because that has a great impact on Bowling Green and South Central Kentucky. Kentucky Aluminum Processors broke ground on a new $40 million facility in Logan County, better known as CAP. So Logan County's having some economic success as well. So like I said, Bowling Green's kind of the hub, but we're all it's a regional effort.
Everybody eats.
Yeah, everybody's eating. Yeah. That's a good way to put it, Jess. Bowling Green was named the Kentucky League of Cities 2024 City Government of the Year. That's quite an honor. Jeff Meisel and Mayor Alcott and the team just doing great things at the city of Bowling Green. Clark Beverage Group, they're the ones that provide us with our Coca-Cola product and some of our beer product. They announced an investment of $29 million of a new Bowling Green facility that'll be at the Plano Road interchange off of I-165, better known as the Natcher Parkway. So they're getting ready to move their operation there. That'll be huge. Kentucky's first medical cannabis cultivation, processor, and dispensary license were issued this year. So, medical marijuana comes into play in 2025, and I'm sure we're going to have some stories on that. We might need to get someone on the podcast to talk about that process as well, talk about how that's going to impact Kentucky.
Yeah, that'd probably be good, especially, I think that'd be a good idea.
I think so, too.
Educational.
Todd Alcott was reelected mayor of Bowling Green, so happy Todd's getting another 4 years as mayor to continue all the great work that he's done. And, he really doesn't get enough credit for this, and I'll say it. When we had the tornadoes in 2021, is that right?
Yeah.
We just passed an anniversary not too long ago. I mean, his military leadership skills really came into play there. I mean, they got a central command operation up and running, and one of the best things that Mayor Alcott did, and Judge Gorman's the one that told me this, says, in a lot of communities, when they have natural disasters, hurricanes, floods, and things like that, that debris usually sits on the street for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, the city of Bowling Green contracted with an organization to come in here and get that up as quickly as possible, because that does have a mental effect on you, a mental impact, if you just see that there day after day and reminding you of the death and destruction that we had during that time. Mm-hmm. And so getting things cleaned up as quickly as possible had a positive effect. And, it was a tragic event, but sometimes you got to look for the silver linings in these things. And, of course, I was grateful that Mayor Alcott was where he was and Judge Gorman was where he was, because, things for a natural disaster, things went pretty well in the aftermath and making sure that everything was done properly.
Yeah, especially for an area that is not used to something like that, Mm-hmm. So I was very impressed with how Bowling Green responded to something like that.
Yep.
Sure.
I mean, it's just, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it just for you. That's what makes Bowling Green and South Central Kentucky such a great place to live, work, and raise a family.
Yeah.
I get accused of saying that too much, but
I hear it in my nightmares.
It's true, though.
It is true.
Hey, here's some it's not breaking news, but this is some good news for our friends in Barron County and Glasgow. They're getting a Chick-fil-A.
Wait, Glasgow?
Yeah.
Oh.
So now you can go to Chick in Glasgow on your way to Buc-ee's. You stop at Buc-ee's on the way.
And then you get to Bowling Green, you can go to 5 different places to get Chick-fil-A.
How many? All right, trivia for you. Do you don't remember this? Where was the first ever Chick-fil-A in Bowling Green?
I have no idea. The only one I can remember is the one that's on Campbell Lane.
Yeah.
Across from Best Buy.
So the first one I remember was in the mall.
Oh, wait, no, I do remember.
All right.
I didn't know that was the first one, though.
I think that was the first one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it was in the mall.
I remember going there in the mall, and I remember when it shut down. It was catastrophic.
Yeah, it was. So there's 4 Chick-fil-A locations in Bowling Green. Where are they?
There's the one by across from Cheddar's.
Okay, that's the one at Nashville Road and Campbell Lane.
Yeah, and then there's the one across from Best Buy.
That's on Campbell Lane.
The one by the interstate.
Yep, that's over there by by Sam's and Olive Garden and all that.
And Western, right? Is that the 4th one?
There you go.
I mean, I've frequented all of them, so.
Yeah, that meal plan came in handy at WKU, didn't it?
Oh, it did, for sure.
Another announcement, our friends in Muhlenberg County, Greenville Manufacturing Kentucky, that's the actual name of the Kentucky company. Greenville Manufacturing, Kentucky, created 250 new jobs with a new $16.2 million operation in Muhlenberg County. And then it was just announced recently, and this is pretty cool, our good friend Representative Brett Guthrie, he wins the powerful House Energy and Commerce gavel. So he'll be the new chair of the Energy and Commerce Committee in the United States House of Representatives. So a lot of great things happened in Bowling Green and South Central Kentucky over the last year. Any final comments on that, Justin?
No, I mean, it's just I feel like year after year it's exponential growth. So I mean, that's awesome. I'm sure 2025 is going to be an even better year. So pretty exciting.
So you mentioned Spielberg was one of your top 3 directors.
Yep.
All right. Sure. Top 5 directors. Who are they, Justin?
I'm going to go in no particular order.
Yeah, you can't do it in no order because it could change tomorrow.
Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve.
Who? All right. Yeah, let's do it this way. If you say who the director is, give us a couple movies so people will know.
All right. Christopher Nolan, you got Oppenheimer, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Okay.
Denis Villeneuve, he just made the Dune movies.
Okay.
Prisoners, Arrival. Spielberg, I don't need to
I
say
never
any.
heard of that guy. Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws is a perfect movie. You can't change my mind about that. Oh goodness.
And Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Not perfect, but still great. Oh dang, you got me on the spot.
I need 2 more, man.
I'll go Peter Jackson just because of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's my favorite movie trilogy of all time. And then I guess George Lucas, just because I can't think of anybody else right now.
Star Wars, man.
Star Wars, yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, you like Star Wars. Who doesn't like Star Wars?
You'd be surprised.
I know. Anyhow, hey,
losers don't like Star Wars.
Did you see the meme I sent you?
Oh yeah, with
Harrison Ford and
Princess Leia and Kylo Ren.
Yeah, all as young people, like a family
Christmas
picture.
card.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Hey, anything you want to say, Justin? You've done a great job engineering the DeCesare Group podcast, and of course at the DeCesare Group, Justin's also our web guy. He creates a lot of the websites that we host and produce. So we appreciate all you do for TDG.
Thank you.
And he's my son.
Yeah, that as well. Nepo baby.
Yeah.
No, nothing to add. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for continuing to listen.
And you even got a couple buddies that listen on a regular basis.
Yeah, I do. Shout out to Jonathan, my guy, Jonathan Coleman.
Yeah, every time I see him, he mentions it, and and that's it's really cool that a lot of people all the time. I mean, literally, I listen to your podcast. I like, oh, really? Because I'm surprised by it because I think nobody's listening.
No, yeah, we definitely got listeners. Probably more in your age demographic than mine, but still.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think we're kind of capturing people in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and older. So
yeah, no, it's
a good thing.
Range, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, hey, nice work, Justin. Thanks for being on the DeCesare Group podcast.
Yeah. You're welcome. I don't even know. I get. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. What a fantastic year it's been for the DeCesare Group podcast. I want to thank Justin DeCesare for joining me on this episode as we recap 2024. Hey, we had the privilege of hosting remarkable guests who shared valuable insights, experiences, and stories that exemplified the spirit of our region. We've also seen exciting developments and initiatives in South Central Kentucky that are paving the way for a brighter economic future. So thank you for joining us on this journey as well. Hey, make sure you catch the DeCesare Group podcast every Sunday morning at 7 on 95.1 WGGC. And if you enjoy our episodes this year, please leave us a review, and don't forget to follow us on social media. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and YouTube for the latest, and stay informed on the top business stories and insights of not only the year, but of the week by signing up for our weekly newsletter, Soka Economic Development and Business News at thedecesaregroup.com. The DeCesare Group is produced by the DeCesare Group, a public relations and consulting firm based in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Our engineer is Justin DeCesare, whose New Year's resolution is to stop procrastinating starting in 2026. Our content contributors are Brooke Mattingly and Amy DeCesare. Here's to a prosperous new year. We can't wait to share more amazing guests with you in 2025 on the DeCesare Group Podcast. Until next time, I'm Jim DeCesare. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.